Hi, my name is Bonnie Keating, and today we're going to be talking about the trans-theoretical model. So the history of TTM was developed by Prochaska and De Clemente. It was named because it crosses over many other behavior change models. It's not just it's like a collaboration of various different models, and it's a guide for explaining behavior change. Um, it supplies effective intervention designs and strategies, and it evaluates change interventions. So the 5 stages of change start with pre-contemplation, and this is when the client or individual um, has no intention of making a change. Um, and then there's contemplation, and this is where the individual recognizes that they need to change, but they keep going back and forth with, well, I want to make a change, but then aren't willing to, make the sacrifices, or haven't really decided whether they're ready to do what is necessary. And then there's preparation. This is when the individual is going to start to take action within 30 days. Once they've gone through this stage, and they're going to move on to action. And this is where their behavior is modified anywhere from 1 day, and they've maintained that action up to 6 months. And then hopefully they're able to move on to the maintenance stage. And this is where the new behavior has been established for greater than 6 months. And so to give you a visual of what that might look like, you can see there at the top, pre-contemplation, and then it's moving on to the next stage. And then you can see there right above maintenance where it says relapse is possible. And this tends to be common. I've seen this with clients that I work with tobacco cessation. You try to explain to your client that this is possible and that it can happen, and it happens regular. It can happen pretty frequently, and that if it does happen, giving them the skills to, if they fall back to preparation stage, that it's okay, that they can get back on track and eventually, hopefully, at some point get into a maintenance stage. The model is designed for behavior change that occurs in a linear order, as we talked about. Like, you graduate to the next stage, like I said before, but it is normal for people to slip back one or more stages or relapse and then continue to move forward again. So again, the end goal, really try to make that maintenance stage. And then a realistic way, as to give an example of how these stages would work would be here. It says the individual has no plan of using birth control, for example. Then, we're moving on to the contemplation stage. Now I'm thinking about using it. And then preparation. I'm going to start to use birth control. Then you're in the action stage. I am using birth control. And then you maintenance. I will continue to use birth control. So another example would be you have someone who's a smoker. I have no plans on quitting in their pre-contemplation stage, and then they move to the next one. I'm going to start thinking about quitting. And then they go into their preparation stage, and they say, I'm going to start to smoke less cigarettes. And they move on to action. I have quit smoking cigarettes. And then the maintenance stage, I don't smoke cigarettes. So that could be, those could be 2 examples of how the trans-theoretical model of behavior change moves through its stages. In regard to motivational interviewing, it's used or can be used to enhance the trans-theoretical model for behavior change. And some of the principles of MI are that you're working in collaboration with your client. You're working as a team to get the client to eventually move on to a stage that elicits change talk. You emphasize to the client their autonomy over decision making, and that you're going to support whatever choices that they decide to make. And you're trying to elicit motivation for them to change, to get them to see things that's their decision that they're making these changes. MI can enhance the trans-theoretical model for behavior change during pre-contemplation and the contemplation stage because they haven't yet made that change, made that decision to change. So it's used to motivate people when they want to change. Once they are ready to change, studies show that MI is not recommended anymore because it could slow down the process of action-oriented treatment. So trans-theoretical model is a how and why, or the comprehensive model of how and why change occurs. And MI is the method to enhance the personal motivation for change. So the rule principle of MI, RULE, this is an acronym used to describe obviously the principles of MI. So the clinician must resist the righting reflex, meaning you want to just go help your client and fix everything about them, but that's not how MI works. You have to resist that and base it off of how your client is feeling at that moment. You understand and explore their motivations. You listen with empathy, and then at the towards the end stage, you're empowering the client. And it's been described in the textbook as it's like dancing with your client rather than wrestling with them. So you guys are working together as a pair. To give you a visual, you start at the top, you see the spirit of MI, like we talked about before. It's a collaboration between you and your client. You're evoking change talk. You're evoking them into having them speak about the ideas they want to make towards a behavior change, and then it's you're respecting their autonomy on the decisions that they make. And some of the principles are: you roll with the resistance, you don't fight them on any resistance they may be giving you, you just work through it, you express your empathy, develop discrepancy, and support self-efficacy, because it's the client that is actively making the decision, the choice to make the behavior change. And then some other elements that are involved that can help elicit change talk with your client is asking open-ended questions, giving them affirmations to build up their confidence, reflect upon their situation. Can elicit change talk is identifying their desire to change, their ability to change, their reasons for change, and their needs, and having them identify it. And then, of course, seeing where their commitment is to change, where they're at on a scale of 1 to 10, and taking the steps in order to try to elicit that behavior change. So when we're talking about change talk, when you're trying to elicit that from your client, you're helping them try to resolve through their ambivalence, them going back and forth. This is a good idea. This isn't a good idea, trying to help them work through that next step on making the decision to change. You provide opportunities, encouragement, and then you are helping the client make the statements for their change. Another quote from the book: as change talk strengthens, commitment increases, as well as the likelihood of behavior change. So you're getting them to come up with their own ideas and become more confident to make that commitment. So some more strategies to elicit change talk: ask evocation questions, so open-ended questions, why they decided to change, how they're going to go about making that change, how is their ability to change, what is their reasons, how important it is for them, and what you think they'll do to make that change and to maintain that change. And further strategies: ask them to elaborate on the details they make, have them try to ask for specific details, ask them what was it like before their current issue, looking back at their life, how did they feel during that time, and then have them also look forward, how do they see themselves in the future by making the behavior change. Have them weigh their best and worst case scenarios. That helps work through ambivalence. Have them on a scale of 1 to 10, a change ruler, and then identifying some of their goals and values. And these are my references that I used for this presentation. Thank you.